the millionaire formula anyone can follow. Not a hack, not a hustle you saw on your phone at 2 in the morning. A formula, and if you get this wrong, I promise you, you will work your whole life and still be broke at 65. I've seen it happen to smart people. Doctors, lawyers, guys who made more money in a year than their parents made in a decade, and they still ended up with nothing in the bank because nobody ever taught them the actual formula. Everybody wants to skip to the part where they're rich. Nobody wants to sit through the part where you build the thing that makes you rich. That's the mistake. That's the whole mistake right there in one sentence. So if you're serious, if you actually want this, don't just watch this video. Take notes, because I'm going to give you the exact order of operations. The same one I used, the same one every person I know who built real wealth used, whether they admit it or not. Look, before I go any further, I have to say this. What I'm about to give you took me 20 years and a lot of failure to figure out. You're about to get it in the next 25 minutes for free. That's not normal. That's not how this works anywhere else. You'd pay a consultant thousands of dollars for a fraction of what I'm about to lay out. So do me one favor, hit subscribe right now before you get distracted and before you forget, because I'm going to keep making these and you're going to want the next one too. All right, let's get into it. Here's where everybody messes up. They think wealth is about finding the one big idea, the one lucky break, the one stock, the one crypto coin, the one business that blows up overnight. And look, I get it. I run into people at my events all the time who ask me, Mark, what's the one thing I should invest in right now? And I tell them the truth. There is no one thing. Wealth isn't a lottery ticket. It's a formula, and formulas have steps, and you cannot skip steps. I don't care how badly you want to skip them. You skip a step, the whole thing falls apart later, usually right when you can least afford it. So let me give you the real formula. The one nobody puts on a t-shirt because it's not sexy enough. Skills, then sales, then savings, then ownership. That's it. That's the order. Not ownership first, not sales first, skills first. Because here's the thing, people don't want to hear you are your first business. Before you build a company, before you buy real estate, before you touch a single stock, you are the asset. And most people never invest in themselves the way they'd invest in a stock they read about on the internet for 5 minutes. They'll do more research buying a television than they will building their own skill set. And that's backwards, completely backwards. I didn't come from money. I sold garbage bags door to door when I was 12 years old to buy a pair of basketball shoes because my dad wasn't going to hand it to me. I learned right then that nobody owes you anything, and the fastest way to change your life is to make yourself valuable enough that people have to pay attention to you, not because you asked, because you earned it. That's step one. And most people never even started because it requires patience. And we live in a world that has trained everybody to want results in 5 minutes. Here's a hard truth. Being good at your job will make you a good employee. Being great, being undeniably great at one specific skill, that's what makes you dangerous in the best way. I'm talking about the kind of great place where people in the industry know your name before they meet you. And when I was building my first company, I wasn't the smartest guy in software. I wasn't even close, but I outworked everybody trying to understand it. I read manuals for fun. I stayed up until 3 in the morning learning code I didn't need to know, just so I'd understand what my engineers were talking about. That's not talent. That's obsession applied to a skill until it becomes a weapon. Pick one thing. I don't care if it's coding, sales, writing, video editing, plumbing, whatever it is. Pick one thing and go absurdly deep on it. Most people are a mile wide and an inch deep. They know a little about marketing, a little about finance, a little about social media, and none of it deep enough to actually be valuable. You know what happens to people like that? They're replaceable. Anybody with a little bit of knowledge is replaceable, but somebody who is genuinely and provably excellent at one high-value skill, that person sets their own price. Nobody negotiates with the best plumber in town. Nobody haggles with the best closer in the office. You become undeniable and undeniable. People get paid. I want you to think about this differently for a second. Imagine your skill as a stock. If you spend 2 hours a day getting better at it, that stock goes up every single day quietly in ways nobody can see yet. Most people won't do that. Most people go home, they watch TV, they scroll their phone for 4 hours, and they wonder why their stock never moves. You cannot expect compounding results from inconsistent effort. That's not how compounding works in the market, and it's not how it works with your own ability either. The 2 hours a day that feel like nothing right now, in 2 years, in 5 years, those become the entire gap between you and everybody else who didn't do it. And don't fall into the trap of thinking you need permission to start. You don't need a degree. You don't need a certificate. You don't need somebody to tell you you're ready. I never waited for permission for anything in my life. I taught myself. I broke things. I fixed them. I looked like an idiot plenty of times along the way. That's part of it. The people who wait until they feel ready never start, because you never actually feel ready. You just start and readiness catches up to you somewhere in the middle. I'll tell you exactly how I judge whether somebody is serious about a skill or just talking about it. Serious people can tell you what they did yesterday to get better. Not last month, not someday, yesterday. If you can't answer that question specifically, you're not actually building the skill. You're just thinking about building it. And thinking about it doesn't move the needle 1 inch. Talking about your goals feels productive because your brain releases the same reward chemicals whether you actually did the work or just described doing it to somebody at a party. That's a trap. Don't fall for your own brain tricking you into feeling accomplished for talking instead of doing. And here's the part that connects to money directly. Whatever skill you pick, make sure it's one the market actually pays for. I love people who are passionate about pottery. I do. But if you want to build wealth fast, you better make sure your skill intersects with what people are willing to write a check for right now, today, in this economy. That doesn't mean abandoning your passion. It means get strategic about which version of your passion the market will pay for. There's always a version. Find it. So you got your skill. Now what? Now you learn to sell. And I don't care what career you're in. I don't care if you're an artist, an engineer, a doctor, a plumber. You are in sales whether you like the word or not. Every single person who has ever built wealth from nothing knew how to sell something, an idea, a product, themselves in an interview, their company to investors. Sales is the skill that turns your first skill into money. Without it, you're just talented and broke. I've met 1,000 talented broke people in my life. Talent without the ability to sell it is a hobby. It's not a business, it's not a career, it's a hobby. Here's how I learned it. I was terrible at sales when I started. Genuinely bad. I used to talk too much. I used to try to convince people instead of listening to them. And then I figured out the secret that nobody tells you. Selling isn't about talking, it's about listening so well that you understand exactly what the other person needs before they've even fully explained it themselves. The best salespeople I know say less than everybody else in the room. They ask questions, they shut up. They let the customer talk themselves into the sale. You cannot do that if you're too busy thinking about what you're going to say next. I remember early on, I was selling software, and I was losing deals left and right because I kept pitching features nobody cared about. And then I started asking one simple question before every meeting. What keeps you up at night? That's it. Just that. And suddenly I wasn't selling software anymore. I was solving a problem somebody actually had, and the deal started closing. That shift from selling a thing to solving a problem, that's the entire game. And listen, sales isn't just closing deals with strangers. It's convincing a bank to give you a loan. It's convincing a partner to work with you for free until you can pay them. It's convincing yourself on the hard days that this is still worth doing. You are selling constantly, every day, whether you realize it or not. The people who get rich understand that and lean into it. The people who stay broke think sales is beneath them, and that arrogance costs them everything. Let me tell you something about rejection, because this is where most people quit before they even get good. When I was starting out, I got told no more times than I can count. Doors shut in my face, literally and figuratively. And here's what I figured out. Every no is just information. It's not a verdict on you as a person. It's data telling you something didn't match up. Wrong timing, wrong price, wrong pitch, wrong person. The people who make it are the ones who treat each no like a data point to learn from instead of a reason to quit. If you take rejection personally, You will not survive long enough to get good at sales because you will get rejected a lot, guaranteed. There's also a difference between being pushy and being persistent, and a lot of people confuse the two. Pushy is annoying somebody until they say yes just to get rid of you. Persistence is showing up with value again and again until the timing lines up. I followed up with investors and partners for months, sometimes years, before something finally clicked. Not because I was hounding them, but because I stayed relevant. I kept adding value. I kept showing up as somebody worth doing business with. That's persistence. That's the version that actually works. Now here's where I'm going to lose some of you, because this next part isn't fun, but it's non-negotiable. You have to get your financial house in order before you invest a single dollar anywhere else. I don't care how good your skill is. I don't care how good you are at sales. If you're bleeding money every month on debt, on lifestyle, on nonsense you don't need, you will never build real wealth. It's mathematically impossible. You cannot out-earn stupid spending. I've watched people make millions and still end up broke because they never fixed a leak in the boat. Doesn't matter how fast you're bailing water. If the hole is still there, step one here, kill high interest debt, especially credit cards, immediately. That debt is sitting at 20, 25, and sometimes 30% interest. There is no legal investment on planet Earth that reliably beats that. None. So paying off that debt is the best investment return you will ever get. Guaranteed, risk-free. People ask me all the time, Mark, what should I invest in? And if they've got credit card debt, my answer is always the same. Pay that off first. That is your investment right now. Now, there are two ways to pay it off, and people argue about this constantly. You can knock out the smallest balance first for the psychological win. Watching a debt disappear completely gives you momentum to keep going. Or you can attack the highest interest rate first, which saves you the most money mathematically over time. Honestly, I don't care which one you pick. What I care about is that you pick one and you actually stick with it. The math nerds will tell you the interest rate method is objectively better, and it is, by the numbers. But if the small win method is what keeps you consistent, keeps you from giving up in month 3, then that's the right method for you. Know yourself. The best strategy is the one you'll actually finish. Step 2, live below your means, not at your means, below them. I know it's not glamorous. I know everybody on the internet is showing you their car and their watch and their trip, and none of that is real wealth. That's just spending disguised as success. The people who actually get rich, the ones who stay rich, they live like they're still broke for way longer than makes them comfortable. I drove a beat-up car long after I could afford a nice one because I understood something most people don't. Every dollar you don't spend today is a dollar that can work for you tomorrow. Every dollar you spend on stuff to look rich is a dollar that can never compound for you again. It's gone forever. Step 3, build a cash cushion. 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting there, untouched, boring, doing nothing exciting. This is not your investment money. This is your don't panic money. This is what keeps you from making a desperate, terrible decision when life throws something at you, because it will, a medical bill, a layoff, a broken car. But if you don't have that cushion, one bad month can wipe out years of progress. I've seen it happen. The cushion isn't optional. It's the floor everything else stands on. I know some of you are watching this thinking that's easy for you to say now. And you're right, it is easier now. But I didn't start with money either. I started by tracking every single dollar, and I mean every single dollar, coming in and going out. Most people have no idea where their money actually goes. They think they know, but when you actually write it down for 30 days, you find the leaks, the subscriptions you forgot about, the takeout that adds up to real money, the impulse buys that felt small in the moment. You cannot fix a leak you refuse to look at. So before you do anything else, track it. Just track it. It's uncomfortable, and it's the single most useful financial exercise most people never do. And I want to be clear about something. This isn't about never enjoying your money, ever, forever. That's not sustainable, and honestly, it's miserable. This is about sequencing. Enjoy your money later on a bigger scale once the foundation is built, instead of enjoying a smaller version of it right now and staying stuck in the same spot for the next 20 years. Delay the reward, not forever. just long enough to build something real underneath you first. Now, once your financial house is in order, once the leaks are fixed and you've got that cushion, now and only now, we get to the part everybody wanted to hear about from the beginning, ownership. This is the actual wealth multiplier. Working for a paycheck, even a great paycheck, will make you comfortable. It will not make you wealthy. There is a hard ceiling on how much money you can make trading your hours for dollars because you only have so many hours. Ownership doesn't have that ceiling. Ownership is the only thing in this formula with no roof on it. Here's what ownership actually looks like. And it's not always starting your own company. So don't panic if that's not your path. It can be equity in the company you work for. It can be a small business you run on the side. It can be real estate you buy and rent out. It can be shares in publicly traded companies you actually understand, not ones you saw trending on your phone. The common thread is this: you want to own a piece of something that makes money, whether or not you personally show up that day. That is the definition of wealth. Wealth is income that doesn't require your direct labor every single hour to exist. I bought my first stake in a company because I understood the business better than the people running it, not because somebody on TV told me to buy it. That's the difference between gambling and investing. Gambling is putting money on something you don't understand, hoping it works out. Investing is putting money on something you understand deeply because you did the work first. Remember that skill you built back in step one? That's what lets you spot good ownership opportunities other people walk right past because you actually understand the industry. And reinvest. This is the part people skip. And it's the part that actually builds real wealth over time. When you make money from ownership, don't go spend it on something that makes you look successful. Put it back in, buy more ownership, compound it. The first few years of doing this feel painfully slow. I'm not going to lie to you about that. But wealth built this way compounds it, snowballs. And eventually the growth from your ownership starts outpacing what you could ever make from a paycheck, no matter how good that paycheck is. That's the moment everything changes. That's the moment you go from working for money to having money work for you. I also want to warn you about something because I've watched it wreck people. The moment you start seeing real ownership gains, you're going to feel like a genius. You're going to feel like you figured out something nobody else knows. That feeling is dangerous. That's exactly when people get overconfident and start using leverage they don't understand. Start chasing bigger and riskier bets because the last one worked. Stay disciplined. Stay inside your knowledge. The businesses and assets that make you money are the ones you actually understand, not the ones that are exciting to talk about at a dinner party. Boring and profitable beats are exciting and break every single time. One more thing about ownership that people misunderstand: it doesn't have to be one big swing. It can be small, steady stakes built up over years. A little bit of equity here, a rental property there, shares in a handful of businesses you actually understand deeply. Wealth isn't usually one massive win. No matter what the headlines make it look like, it's usually a portfolio of smart, boring decisions stacked on top of each other for a long time, made by somebody who had already done the work in steps 1, 2, and 3 before they ever got here. So here's my challenge to you, and I mean this. Stop looking for the shortcut. There isn't one. Pick your skill this week. And I mean this week, not someday, this week. Go absurdly deep on it until people notice, get uncomfortable with sales, because that discomfort is the price of admission. Everybody pays it. Fix your financial leaks before you invest another dollar. Anywhere else, no exceptions. And once your foundation is solid, start owning pieces of things instead of just working for a check. Skills, sales, savings, ownership, in that exact order. Write it down if you have to. I'm not asking you to believe me because I said it with confidence. I'm asking you to test it because this formula worked for me. It's worked for everybody I respect who built real wealth from nothing. And it will work for you too if you actually follow the order instead of jumping straight to the part that looks fun. Comment below and tell me which step you're on right now. I actually read them. And if this video gives you something real, something you're going to use, subscribe, share it with somebody who needs to hear it, and I'll see you in the next one.